Okay, to finish the notes, the last thing we're going to talk about is when determining if two functions are inverses of each other. So two functions are inverses if f of g of x equals x and g of f of x equals x. So let's talk about what that means. That means if I substitute whatever g of x is equal to into my f of x and I solve that or simplify it, my solution is going to be x. If I substitute f of x into the g of x function and I simplify it, it should equal x. So there's two pieces in order for us to answer yes on this question. And I think me working this example will make it a little bit easier to understand. So we've got f of x is x plus 6 and g of x is x minus 6. And we're going to determine if those are inverses of each other. So I'm going to break this into two halves because there's two pieces. We've got to do this side and we've got to do this side. So I'm going to find f of g of x first. Okay? So I'm going to ask myself, what is g of x equal to? G of x is x minus 6. So I'm going to replace that to find f of x minus 6. So everywhere I see an x in f of x, I'm going to substitute x minus 6. So I'm going to have x minus 6 plus 6. So if that confused you, let me write it separately. So if I'm going to find f of x minus 6, this replaced the x, so I've got to replace the x here. So we'll have x minus 6 plus 6. But when that happens, those two 6's, negative 6 and positive 6, are going to cancel out, and we're just left with plain x. So that's the first test of determining if they're inverses of each other. So now we've got to do g of f of x. So I'm going to ask myself, what is f of x equal to? It is equal to x plus 6. So we're really looking for g of x plus 6. So g of x equals x minus 6. If I'm looking for g of x plus 6, x plus 6 replace the x, so we're going to replace the x here. And you can tell we got that positive 6 and negative 6 again. It's going to cancel each other out. So we're left with x. It tells you if both equal x, and they do, they are inverses of each other. So these are inverses. So let's do one more of those together. So the last example says determine whether the pair of functions are inverse functions. So I'm going to do our two tests again. So we want to find f of g of x first. So g of x is 1/13 x minus 1, so I'm going to replace that. So now I'm going to take my f of x function and I'm going to find f of 1/13 x minus 1. So that means everywhere I see an x, I have to substitute this in. So 13 parentheses 1/13 x minus 1 minus 13. So I substituted this in for the x in my f of x function. So now you're going to distribute. Okay, so when we do that, 13 times 1/13 is just going to be 1x. 13 times negative 1 is minus 13. And then we've got minus 13 at the end. So we really have x minus 26. So technically, at this point, I could stop because this failed the first test. But we're going to keep going just to show you. So we would find g of f of x next. So f of x is equal to 13x minus 13. So if we look at our g of x function, now I want to find g of 13x minus 13. Everywhere I see x, I've got to substitute 13x minus 13. So we would have 13x minus 13 minus 1. So we would distribute here. Again, 1/13 times 13 is just 1x. 1/13 times negative 13 would be minus 1. And then we have our last minus 1, so that would give us x minus 2. These are not inverses because they are not, sorry guys, because they are not equal to x. And that's how you determine if two functions are inverses.